Hello everybody, welcome back to Weekly Well with Wisdom. As always, I'm your host, Zero Yeti. Let's go get into it with our first animal of the week, being the Iberian Lynx, which is a wildcat species endemic to the Iberian Peninsula of southwestern Europe. At around 2.5 feet in length and 20-30 pounds in weight, the Iberian Lynx can be distinguished from its larger cousin, the Eurasian Lynx, by its spotted coat, longer legs, characteristic beard that encircles its face, and distinctive black ear tufts. They are nocturnal predators whose patterns of activity typically link up with those of the European rabbit, which is their primary prey. When rabbits are not available, the Iberian lynx has been known to hunt other rodents, ground birds, ducks, wild goats, and even small deer. The Iberian lynx is a solitary animal, only pairing up to mate between the months of January and July, with females typically having litters of around 2 to 4 kittens. The young become independent about 7 to 10 months of age and reach sexual maturity at 1 year. Wild lynx have been known to live upwards of 13 years. The Iberian lynx population has long been in decline because of overhunting, poaching, and fragmentation of suitable habitats. But it really suffered a catastrophic drop in population following the eradication of its main prey species, the European rabbit, due to myxomatosis and rabbit hemorrhagic disease. By the turn of the 21st century, the Iberian lynx was on the verge of extinction with only 94 individuals surviving in 2 isolated subpopulations. In 2002, a massive conservation effort was launched in which included improving habitat, restocking of rabbits, captive breeding programs, and reintroduction of Iberian lynxes to the wild. And as of 2020, the population has increased to 855 wild individuals. Next up is the turkey vulture, also known as the turkey buzzard, the John crow, and the carrion crow, is the most widespread of all the New World vultures. One of the 3 species of the genus Carthates and the family Carthatidae, the turkey vulture ranges from southern Canada to the southernmost tip of South America, where it inhabits a variety of open and semi-open areas, including subtropical forests, shrublands, pastures, and deserts. At around 5 pounds in weight and sporting a wingspan of up to 6 feet, they are the 4th largest vulture in the Americas. As adults, the body feathers are typically brownish-black, but the flight feathers on the wings appear to be silvery gray beneath. They have small featherless red heads with relatively short, hooked, ivory-colored beaks. Turkey vulture is a scavenger and feeds almost exclusively on carrion, with the occasional plant matter substituting with its diet, including pumpkin and coconut. In flight, turkey vultures use thermals to move through the air, flapping their wings infrequently, as it uses its keen eyesight and amazing sense of smell to detect food. These birds roost in large flocks of upwards of 100 individuals, often nesting in caves, rocky outcrops, hollowed trees, and thickets. Turkey vultures typically form long-term mated pairs, with females laying 2 eggs every summer, and both parents taking turns incubating the eggs for a period of up to 40 days. Hatchlings will then grow quickly, being able to fly after just 10 to 11 weeks. But even after learning to fly, the young will stay with their parents, learning the ins and outs of being a vulture until well into the winter. The European river lamprey, also known as the river lamprey or the lampern, is a species of fish in the Petromyzontidae family that can be found in coastal waters, rivers, and lakes throughout almost all of Europe, from the Mediterranean Sea north to the lakes of Finland, Scotland, Norway, Wales, and Russia. They are frequently harvested for their rich meat, which is said to taste more like red meat than the flesh of other fish. Like other lampreys, they represent an ancient lineage of scaleless, jawless fish that can be characterized by a toothed, funnel-like sucking mouth. Lampreys use this terrifying mouth to feed by clinging on the flanks or gills of other fish and then boring into the flesh in order to suck their blood. European lampreys can grow up to 16 inches in length and can be distinguished by their single nostril and 7 small breathing holes on either side of the fish that are found behind the eye. The European river lamprey has a reproduction cycle similar to that of salmon, with river lampreys migrating upstream from the sea to the spawning grounds in autumn and winter. Spawning activity is greatest in the springtime, and after spawning the adults often die. The young larvae, also known as amniocytes, or oocytes are filter feeders which spend several years in freshwater rivers and lakes before they migrate to the sea as adults, switching from filter feeding to carnivory along the trip. It is thought that these fish spend 2 to 3 years in marine habitats before making the return trip to spawn, even though they can live as long as 10 years. Next up is the water opossum, also known as the apoke. It is a semi-aquatic marsupial of the genus Charonectes, of which they are the only surviving member. This creature can be found near freshwater streams and lakes throughout Central and South America, ranging from Mexico to Argentina, and it seems to derive its name from the Oyapoke River in French Guiana. This roughly 2 foot long, 2-pound marsupial has many adaptations for aquatic life, including short, dense, water-repellent fur, a long, stiff tail they use for paddling, and webbed hind feet. Additionally, both sexes have watertight pouches. The females use hers to keep her young safe and dry, while the male uses the pouch to protect and store his genitalia, which makes him more streamlined when swimming. Yapokes are the only known extant marsupial in which both sexes have pouches, although a resurrection of the thylacine may change that, as the thylacine also had 2 pouches. Each sex had a pouch. The apoke is a nocturnal species, with individuals spending their days inside bankside burrows, emerging after dusk to swim and hunt for fish, crustaceans, amphibians, and other aquatic animals which they feed. Water opossums mate in December and typically have a litter of between 1 and 5 young that are kept in the mother's pouch until roughly 40 days old, at which they begin to start venturing out of the mother's pouch, and they eventually leave their mother and strike out their own about 3 months of age. Next up is the leatherback sea turtle, sometimes called the lute turtle, or the leathery turtle, or simply the luth. It is the only surviving species in the genus Dermocheles and the family Dermochelidae. At over 7 feet in length and weighing upwards of 1,500 pounds, leatherback is the 4th largest reptile and the largest known turtle alive today. It can be easily differentiated from other modern sea turtles by its large teardrop-shaped body, massive front flippers that can rival the size of the entire length of the animal, and the lack of a bony carapace, with its shell instead being made of a thick leathery skin embedded with osteoderms, hence the common name, the leatherback. Leatherbacks are also unique amongst extant reptiles, particularly turtles, for their ability to maintain high body temperatures using metabolically generated heat, or endothermy. They do this by constantly swimming, which creates muscle-derived heat. This, coupled with countercurrent heat exchanges, insulating fat covering, and large size, allow the leatherbacks to maintain body temperatures of up to 32 degrees warmer than the surrounding water. This ability to self-regulate body temperatures has allowed leatherbacks to achieve the widest distribution of any marine reptile, with the turtles being found throughout the Pacific, Indian, and Atlantic Oceans, ranging from as far south as the southern islands off New Zealand to as far north as Norway. The leatherback sea turtle is considered to be the best hunter on Earth, catching and consuming 100% of the prey it targets. Granted, its prey are jellyfish, which aren't exactly great at escaping. Leatherbacks are immune to the venoms of various cnidarians, and during jellyfish blooms are known to eat up to twice their body weight in jellyfish in a single day. While other sea turtle species almost always return to their hatching beach, leatherbacks may choose another nesting site, preferring beaches with soft sand because their softer shells and plastrons are easily damaged by hard rocks. Females arrive at night and begin the process by excavating a nest above the high tide line with their flippers. They then deposit a clutch of up to 110 eggs before they carefully fill the hole back up and return to the water. The eggs typically hatch within 60 to 70 days, and although only 15% of hatchlings reach adulthood, they have fairly few predators, and once they do reach adult sizes, can live upwards of 100 years. Leatherback sea turtles are also the deepest diving and fastest swimming of any non-avian reptiles alive today, able to reach depths of over 4,200 feet and speeds upwards of 22 miles per hour. Number 6 is Ichthyodipus longicephalus, also or more commonly known as the long-headed satchelian. It is a species of satchelian in the family Ichthyophiidae. This species is distributed widely throughout the western Ghats, which is a mountain range in southern India. Here they prefer wet, evergreen tropical forests at elevations of up to 3,300 feet. Like most satchelians, they are a subterranean species, and their vision is limited to dark light perception. Their anatomy is also highly adapted for a burrowing lifestyle, as they have a strong skull with a pointed snout they use to force their way through the soil, leaf litter, and mud. Their muscles are adapted to push their way through the ground, with skeletons and deep muscles acting as a piston inside their skin and outer muscles, allowing them to kind of chisel their way through the substrate by anchoring their hind end and then forcing the head forward, later pulling the rest of the body up to reach it and then continuing in a wave-like fashion. In water or very loose mud, long-headed satchelians often instead swim in an eel-like fashion to save energy. In their mountainous underground homes, long-headed satchelians eat a variety of foods, including various insects, earthworms, millipedes, decaying leaves, and other plant material. This 10-inch long amphibian can be distinguished from other satchelians by its distinctive eyes, dark violet-brown body, which sports a unique lateral stripe that starts at the neck and reaches the tip of the tail. And finally, our extinct animal of the week is the Irish elk, also known as the giant deer or the Irish deer, is an extinct species of deer in the genus Megaloceros, which once lived throughout Eurasia during the Pleistocene, ranging from Ireland to Lake Baikal in Siberia. Standing at over 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing upwards of 1,500 pounds, Megaloceros is tied with the modern-day Alaskan moose for the third largest deer to ever exist, after the extinct Cervalis latifrons and Cervalis scotti. Nonetheless, compared to the moose, the Irish elk appeared to have had a more robust skeleton and particularly stout neck, allowing males to grow the largest antlers to ever exist, with some antlers reaching from 12 feet up to 12 feet from tip to tip and over 80 pounds in weight. Irish elk exhibited a marked sexual dimorphism, with Irish bucks being noticeably larger than does. Females averaged around 1,000 pounds compared to the male's 1,500-pound weight. Neither exclusive to Ireland nor elk, the Irish elk get their name so because of their most well-known and best preserved fossil specimens having been found in lake sediments and peat bogs throughout Ireland. Curiously, they do not appear to have frequented the open mammoth steppe ecosystem, rather keeping to boreal woodland environments where they would have lived in herds of up to 50 individuals feeding on a variety of plant species including pines, spruces, grasses, and sedges. Based on European cave paintings, the Irish elk seem to have had an overall light coloration with a dark stripe running down the back and stripes running on either side from the shoulders to the haunches. A dark color on the throat and a chin strap and dark hump on their shoulders that was probably used to store fat. It was a frequent prey item for both human and non-human hunters, such as cave lions, cave hyenas, and wolves, with many artifacts we have found being made of Megaloceros antler and bone. Around 20,000 years ago, the Megaloceros populations began to rapidly decline as environmental factors accumulating over thousands of years began to greatly impact its open woodland environment, basically making it disappear. This reduced the giant deer populations to a highly vulnerable state, and although they managed to survive in isolated pockets in western Russia until 7,700 years ago, human hunting eventually led to their extinction. As always, take care to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals.